Okay, so you've probably seen the headlines, right? Disney, a massive year at the box office. We're talking a huge number, the kind that screams success. But is that what's really going on? Let's dig in. There it is, $6 billion. I mean, that number just feels like a win, doesn't it? It puts Disney right at the top of the heap for 2025. And looking at that, you'd think, wow, the magic is back, stronger than ever. But what if that number is hiding something? What if I told you that making $6 billion at the box office doesn't actually mean you're profitable? Yeah, it sounds crazy, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack right now. So how is this even possible? Well, the key to this whole puzzle, it's one place: China. It's this massive market that every studio wants a piece of. But getting that piece? Oh, there's a huge catch. Okay, here's the most important thing to get your head around. A dollar is not always a dollar. Seriously, where a movie makes its money is way more important than how much it makes. And in the world of weird movie money rules, China is playing a totally different game. Just look at this. For every single dollar your ticket costs in China, Disney sees about 20 cents. That's it. A whopping 80% of that money just vanishes. It stays in China with local partners and the government. That's not a haircut. That's a scalping. Let's put that into perspective. Here in the US, when a movie makes a dollar, Disney gets to keep about 55 cents of it. Pretty good, right? But in China, that number crashes down to just 20 cents. So you see, $1 billion from the US box office and $1 billion from the Chinese box office are two completely different things for Disney's bank account. All right, to really see how this plays out, let's look at 3 big movies from Disney in 2025, because each one tells a fascinating and very different story about what success actually looks like. Okay, so on one side you've got the giants, Zootopia 2 and the new Avatar. These are the ones you saw everywhere, the massive global blockbusters. Then, on the other side, you have the live-action Lilo and Stitch, a much quieter, mostly domestic movie. Now, you'd think the first two are the obvious winners, right? Well, not so fast. Their profits get hammered by that China box office split. And for Avatar, you also have to pay James Cameron his giant share. Zootopia 2 is a perfect case study. It makes, let's say, a cool $500 million in China. That's a fantastic headline. But wait, China takes its 80% cut, and suddenly that $500 million becomes just $100 million for Disney. Now think about this. That movie probably cost $400 million or more to make and market. So that $100 million, it barely makes a dent. So that brings us to the million-dollar question, or maybe the $100 million question. Which of these 3 movies actually put the most pure profit into Disney's pocket? I think the answer is going to surprise you. Believe it or not, it was almost definitely Lilo and Stitch. Yup, the little guy. Because most of its money came from the US market, where Disney keeps a bigger slice of the pie. That little blue alien probably made more real profit for the company than the 2 giant blockbusters combined. It's the perfect tortoise and the hare story. Okay, so this just raises a huge question, right? Why? Why on earth would Disney chase these giant box office numbers if they aren't turning into giant profits? Well, it's not because they're bad at math. There's a strategy here. I mean, if the money from the tickets in China is so small, they have to be playing a different game. There has to be some kind of long-term plan that makes this all make sense. So what is it? From what we can tell, it comes down to 2 big things. First, it's all about appearances, the Wall Street factor. Huge box office numbers look amazing, they make investors happy, and they can pump up the stock price. The second reason, it's a massive long-term gamble on merchandise.
Yeah, this quote really nails that first point. They're not actually interested in winning, they're interested in getting credit for winning. It's not about the actual profit, it's about the perception of success. It's about spinning a story for Wall Street that everything is great, even when the numbers are kind of shaky. And that second part, the merchandising gamble, it works like this. Step 1, you release a monster hit in China, like Zootopia 2. Step 2, you just accept that you're going to get a tiny cut of the ticket sales. But step 3, and this is the big one, you hope the characters become so beloved that you can sell toys, clothes, theme park tickets, a whole merchandising empire for the next decade.
But, and this is a huge but, there's a massive risk. What's to stop Chinese companies from just copying the designs and selling their own knockoff stuff without paying Disney a dime? If that happens, this whole plan, giving up movie profits for toy profits, it just completely collapses.
Okay, so we've been talking about these three so-called successes. But now we need to pull the camera back and look at the entire year for Disney. And when you see the whole picture, it's not nearly as pretty.
When you really crunch the numbers, Disney only had maybe 3 movies that were clear financial wins in 2025. Just 3. Out of a whole year of releases from Marvel, Pixar, Disney Animation, all of them.
And then there's the other side of the ledger. For every hit, you had a bunch of very expensive movies that just didn't perform. We're talking about some big-name titles that were either disappointments or, frankly, total flops, losing the studio a ton of money.
So here's the kicker. Once you understand how little actual profit those big hits brought in, you realize their earnings probably weren't even close enough to cover the massive losses from all the other films. So think about that. Despite that $6 billion headline, it's entirely possible Disney's movie studio as a whole actually lost money for the year. And that leaves us with the big, lingering question. Is this whole China strategy a brilliant long-term move to dominate the globe? Or is it just a house of cards? Is it a strategy built on vanity numbers that's just hiding a business model that's fundamentally broken? I guess we'll have to wait and see.